Well, good day. I'll have to come up with a new introduction, but this is the best one. Good day. It's the 27th of May, 2021. Yesterday I did a video on the FBI HRT, and one of the most common questions I get, will my degree in whatever help qualify me for federal law enforcement? And of course, yesterday's video on the HRT, it really doesn't matter what your degree is in, so long as you are physically fit and able to, physically and tactically fit, able to get on that team. So they really don't care what your degree is in. But when you think of the FBI, you tend to think of a law enforcement agency. Throughout most of my life, it has been a law enforcement agency. But after 9/11, there was a huge shift. And now it is principally it's law enforcement, of course, but counterterrorism and national security. And as such, they look for people with many different types of backgrounds. So the first thing I'm going to do today is we're going to look at the different types of backgrounds that they specifically recruit for and the attributes that they look for, and then the type of person who would be happy in the new FBI, today's FBI. So we'll look at that, and then I'll come back and comment on it in a little while. Okay, and if you look at their applicant categories from back in the day, back prior to 2010, there were basically four eligibility lists. The old standbys, law, accounting, and physical sciences, which they've always been looking for. And then they had what most applicants fell into, which was called diversified. And that included all previous law enforcement and military and anyone who didn't fit into any other group. Now, what has happened since then? Well, right now there are 9 applicant categories. Some of them are the same. They're still looking for lawyers and accountants and scientists, but now cybersecurity, special types of military operator, psychologists, healthcare, linguists, explain why they want that, teaching background. So people who do not have common traditional law enforcement backgrounds. Now, why is this? Again, all of these provide important operational support in areas such as profiling or investigating cybercrime or investigating terrorism or white-collar crime. Now, in 1994, the FBI formed the Critical Incident Response Group, greatly expanded the number of agents and headquarters. And the reason for this was the incident at Ruby Ridge and at Waco, where you had the HRT team go out, and it was a disastrous event. But what the FBI realized is they needed more people than just operators on the scene. They needed profilers. They needed true negotiators, people who could understand and get into the minds of the people that they were negotiating with. And nowadays, of course, computer specialists. So this Critical Incident Response Group, it's out of Quantico. It's on call 24/7. It travels anywhere in the world. Now, HRT is part of the Critical Incident Response Group, but includes many, many other specialties as well. And some of the things they do: crisis management, crisis negotiations, behavioral analysis. Now, one big area that they're involved in right now and have a huge headquarters presence, computer forensics. Now, the reason for that is obvious. Back in the 1980s, not much of a need for it. Today there is, and you just recently saw just a couple weeks ago the Colonial Pipeline hack, disruption of service, and they had to pay $5 million to hackers in Russia. And I truly, truly do hope they get that guy or the guys who did that. What are some other areas that they look at? Linguistics. Now, why would they want linguists? Well, number one, translators. But here's another reason. One of the most famous cases they did, the Unabomber case. A guy named Ted Kaczynski. He's now serving life without parole and Supermax. But he had a PhD in mathematics, small cabin up in Montana, sent out 19 bombs over a period of a couple of decades. And he had a beef with technology. And they weren't able to catch him. Nobody knew where the hell he was or anything. But what they were finally able to do, he insisted on having his manifesto published And when his manifesto was published, they have forensic linguists. What is a forensic linguist? They take what he had written and compared it to things that he had written previously as a college professor before he had gone off to live on his own. And this resulted in the development of probable cause. And then they had HRT raid his cabin, and the bomb people took all of his bombs, and he got life without parole. And in my opinion, he should have been executed. The Oklahoma City bombing in 1994, a disgruntled man, Timothy McVeigh, drove a rented truck loaded with explosives, blew up the Alfred Murrah Federal Building. Now, within hours, really, the FBI had this guy identified. And again, it shows a rapid response, really something that only they can do that quickly. They were able to take the vehicle, parts of the vehicle that had been used. They traced it. They went to the vehicle rental, quickly did a composite sketch. A professional artist did a composite sketch, which, looks just like him. And then they went around town where he had been staying and rented the vehicle. They found a hotel. They found his fingerprints on the rental agreement and also in the hotel. So they were then the truck rental agreement. They were able to identify him, and he was quickly identified, brought to justice, and put to death. Okay, the DC sniper case in 2002. Two men, a man and a young man, opened fire on people on 10 occasions in the DC area. Really scared everyone to death in this area. My group, everybody in law enforcement was involved in this pretty much to one way or another. We had to deploy to Rockville, Maryland, and we met with FBI behavioral analysis unit specialists who said, based on what we can tell, he's going to strike next in Rockville, Maryland. They do this, they do a behavioral analysis on the guy. They really didn't know much about him, but what they were eventually able to do is other people came forward, his ex-wife came forward and said, he had been living up here in Seattle. Well, they took the tree stump where the suspect, John Muhammad, had lived, and he had used it for target practice, and they were able to compare those rounds to rounds that he had been firing in D.C., found that it came from the same gun, most likely came from John Muhammad. And, of course, then he left clues when he would call police chief Charlie Moose. And they were able to identify him, and HRT and other agencies arrested both Muhammad and Malvo. And again, this is the FBI doing its work at its best. They did their work at their best there. Muhammad was sentenced to death. Malvo was given a life sentence without possibility of parole. The anthrax poisonings after 9/11, a number of people, media outlets, congressmen received letters with white powder in there and death to America. They're trying to, point this towards the Muslim terrorists, but obviously this was a highly sophisticated, brilliant person who was doing this, evilly brilliant. It was anthrax. It killed 5 people, sickened many others. After many years of investigation, they were able to identify the person who did it. It was a man named Dr. Bruce Ivins, a biowarfare specialist employed by the government, but he took his life before he could be arrested. So again, this points to the need for people from non-traditional backgrounds, linguists, computer specialists, physical scientists, profilers for psychology. All of these things are extra important right now. So these are the people that they're looking for. I think if you have degrees in these areas, you're most likely to get hired. And again, a lot of their work now is based out of headquarters, which is Quantico. They've greatly expanded the number of agents in the critical incident response group and in also FBI headquarters. And a lot of their work now is operational support. So the door kicking, the number of arrests, that has gone down as they target, specialized types of crimes, specialized types of criminals. So what type of person would do good in this? What type of attributes do you need? Well, number one, you would want to have the type of academic skills to get a computer science degree, to get an engineering degree, to get a physical science degree or healthcare background, psychologist, a mental health professional. Again, it's much easier to train a mental health professional to become a profiler than it is to train an agent or a law enforcement officer to become a profiler. It's much easier to train a computer scientist to be a law enforcement officer than a law enforcement officer to become a computer scientist. So the type of people they're looking for have non-traditional backgrounds primarily. That's not to say if you have a degree in criminal justice that they wouldn't be interested in you. It's just that they have these very specific needs. And if this is an agency that you really are committed to wanting to join, these are the type of things I think you would want to focus on. And secondly, you have to be aware that the type of work that you're going to be performing, you're going to be doing a lot of analytical type work. This isn't the old, catch the bank robbers type of thing. It's going to be a lot of headquarters work. You may deploy with the HRT or whoever to a scene of, where you have a sniper or you have a serial killer, like the anthrax guy or any of these people. And, they would develop a behavioral profile working with the state and locals. And again, they're full FBI agents, but they're not doing the same kind of work that you'll do in DEA. So your background is different than it would be for a DEA agent, and the type of work that you're going to be doing is very different than a DEA agent would be doing, or a marshal would be doing. You're going to be doing more academic, analytical type of things. That's the way the agency is going. That's what they're looking for. I hope this has been helpful. I'm going to do more on other agencies as to what type of attributes, they're looking for. I was thinking of doing one on Elvis just because he was a federal narcotics agent. So I might do that tomorrow. So I hope you enjoyed it. If it's useful, let me know. If it's not, let me know too, and I'll do my best to fix it. Okay, you have a good day.